Welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. I'm joined through the miracle of computer phone by my buddy Kelly Dwyer. The great Kelly Dwyer is here. Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I have a guitar.
I was going to ask you, my first question was to ask you if your guitar was also here with us. So your guitar is here with us.
I got a travel guitar. It's an Epiphone Les Paul Jr. double cutaway that I put a Seymour Duncan P90 upgrade in. It's just a power.
I don't know what a lot of those words mean. Can you plug it into your computer via USB for podcasting? Is that a thing that people don't know?
Probably. During the pandemic, I splayed on some laptop gear to plug the stuff in, but I'd rather just plinkety plink acoustically.
If you had a USB guitar, I'm just throwing this out there, Kelly. One benefit you could do, you could actually maybe cue like drops, audio drops, FM radio style by just playing your guitar. Maybe you could play the E string. And then it would give you whatever it was. It could be a quote from Stephen Silas, being distraught that the Rockets just won't try. Why won't they try? That was dark stuff. Yeah, or you could just do that, or you could do a little slap guitar. But anyways, thanks for joining us, Kelly. I tried to get you on a playback last week. You said you were driving across the country. Can you tell us what were you driving for, and how far did you drive?
I'm visiting two of my mother-in-laws in Olympia, Washington, where I'm currently at.
Oh, wow.
I live in Indiana, and it was a good 2,300-mile drive in a couple of days, which I loved. America is beautiful, and CarPlay is fantastic. All you have to have is your little thumb on the steering wheel, and you can listen to whatever music you can think of, and find out the weather in various snowing states. It snows everywhere up here, and then it turned rainy. But I had a dog and an all-wheel drive sedan, so it was the time of my life. I've done a lot of driving in the last in this year. I've been out to New York a couple of times. I went from Fort Collins to Yorba Linda a couple of times. I've done a lot of driving this year, and I highly recommend it. It is a beautiful country we have going on here.
What's your go-to road jam? Is it just all Nate and Danny dunked on?
I am not a good podcast person. I just am not. I have the entire encyclopedia of music and I haven't even touched Brazil yet. I haven't even touched. I've just started on Japanese jazz fusion. I have so much to learn as this dumb American cowboy that I am. So no, it's all music. It's just nonstop music.
That's good. One of my resolutions this year, among many, is I need to listen to more music, less talking, more music. I need to get back into the joy of listening to music. Although I honestly, as like a sort of musician myself, I got into I would only listen to bands of people I knew, which honestly has bled over into my podcast consumption, where now I basically only listen to podcasts of people I know. If we're not on speaking terms, I'm probably not listening to your podcast. Is my new habit.
Which is how I feel sometimes. Like if I don't leave a thumbs up on a YouTube every so often, or if I don't get the latest joke on a podcast, I'm like, have I upset my friends? Have I upset these people? Do they know that I couldn't hook it up when I was washing dishes the other day because I wanted to hear I wanted to see what Joe Tex was all about.
Yeah. As you know, we start our show with breakfast. Have you had a good breakfast today? We got a lot to get to. We're going to try to cover it all. There are huge NBA stories. Sometimes I avoid the huge NBA stories. I cannot. The Kyrie Irving trade. I still want to talk about the All-Star reserves that were announced last week. I'm still want to talk about the Rising Stars game, which had a confusing twist this year. I want to talk about Cam Thomas, but before we can do all that, we of course have to talk about breakfast. What'd you have, Kelly?
Bacon, eggs, and spinach, hot sauce.
Ooh.
Had it. Not today, but had it for brunch yesterday, and it's a go-to. It's going to be my staple for the next couple of days out here as we try to. When you're living in someone's house, you don't want to take up too much fridge space. So
Sure.
Nice slab of thick bacon, a couple of bags of spinach, carton of eggs, set to go.
Where are you getting the eggs these days? They're kind of pricey. You got a local.
Oh,
we got an egg guy up there in
I
Washington.
got a mountain guy.
You get an egg guy.
I do have an egg person in Indiana. You have to go down a gravel road and pay cash, and they're right on the Wabash River, and it's a mile away from anywhere. But yeah, I got an egg person. Problem is you have to return their cartons, and I just can't. I forget.
You forget? You're making art projects out of them?
I keep thinking I'm going to soundproof the wall, but instead I just love shooting in a 3-pointer with an egg carton in the recycling.
Oh, it's so satisfying. It's true. That's incredible. My breakfast was I had a birthday yesterday, by the way. And for the birthday, I got a number of delectable treats. One of the treats I got was, I put this on Twitter and I believe Instagram. One of the treats I got, or a present I got, was custom Oreos. I didn't know we could do this. I didn't know we possessed this technology as a society. My wife got me Fastbreak Breakfast printed Oreos. But I ask you, Kelly, how can I eat one of these things? It's art. It came in a pack of 12. It probably was expensive. Like, I feel nervous. Like, if I break up the set, I don't know.
Then again, but also they're Oreos.
They're also Oreos. They're not even going to be special. They're just forever. Oreos, as far as I know.
No, I mean the other way around. Like the Oreos are made by the good people at DuPont. Like that stuff is going to last forever. On top of
it's never going bad. Yeah. Right.
So, this is like a wedding cake in the fridge situation.
It's a forever chemical. Yeah.
So I'd be careful with it.
I thought maybe I should double the amount.
Like you don't want to throw away.
Yeah, like one to keep and then one to eat at the very least. You could apparently customize the flavoring, and I think mine has birthday cake flavored filling with the white chocolate coating. I mean, there's sprinkles on there. It's magical. It's magical. But my actual breakfast was also very, very sweet. It was leftover birthday cheesecake. Cheesecake of all the cakes. You made a face. That's for our YouTube audience.
No, it went nice. It's a nice.
Oh,
face.
Nice. It was it was like, oh yeah.
Breakfast cake.
But of the breakfast cakes, cheesecake, I think, is the most perfect. It feels the most like something that should be always served at a breakfast because you add fruit to it. You get some raspberries, some sliced strawberries. It's perfect.
Even without the Danish association, because it has that savory element, it's far more than like an apple pie for breakfast or a boysenberry or even a rhubarb, more of your savory, spicier sort of sour treats. Yeah, that makes total and complete sense. The cheesecake is the absolute breakfast cake of all cakes.
It was absolutely delightful. For my birthdays, by the way, my wife's gotten in the habit of giving me NBA themed paraphernalia for a jersey number that reflects my age. So last year was my Pascal Siakam year. I had a Pascal Siakam jersey, which unfortunately I wore the last day of when I was 43, and that was the day the Raptors played the Grizzlies. So it wasn't the best day to be wearing actually it was because the Raptors won. But this is now my Bojan Bogdanovic year. I got a nice print of a Bojan Bogdanovic buzzer beater, which I've got it right here, actually. So we have a Bojan Bogdanovic drilling a 3-pointer.
Doing a Michael Jordan shot.
It's like a Michael Jordan shot. It's like Michael Jordan, the shot.
Faces.
Oh, it is a blown up vision of Bojan Bogdanovic on the Jazz knocking down a game-winning 3-pointer.
Tino's gonna be
buzzer beater. My wife was like, she asked me, she says, "Is this an important shot?" Because there's a lot of this on the NBAstore.com, and I looked at it and I'm like, I don't have a clear memory of this. I don't think this is playoffs. So I went and looked it up. It's not playoff. It's regular season. It's an awesome shot. Don't get me wrong. Hopefully it was not too expensive. Hopefully it cost less than the Oreos. That's all I'm saying. But it was a good present. Anyways, those were our breakfasts. After our breakfast, Kelly, I'm not going to make you apologize, but we moved to our breakfast in bed apologies. We're not staying total format, but a few guideposts to help me along the way. One of them, breakfast in bed apology. I think this is important. In the last episode, I made fun of a major NBA newsbreaker. And me and John had a good laugh about it. This newsbreaker reported last week that the Mavericks were willing to include Dorian Finney-Smith in a trade for a star. And we hooted and hollered we thought that was a hilarious thing to report, quote unquote report. Well, the joke's on us, Kelly. The Mavericks did, in fact, trade Dorian Finney-Smith for a star. So for that, apologies, major NBA newsbreaker. Your intel, absolutely accurate.
DFS on the. Who thought?
Who thought?
You know, he's one of those guys they never like. To the Heat trade Udonis Haslem 10 years ago for a Mercurial point guard. No, I thought DFS was one of those guys.
Is that that feel? I don't want to get my player comps incorrect. That feels like a slight put down of Dorian Finney-Smith. Was Udonis Haslem ever 10 years ago? He was not crucial. Is it wrong to say Dorian Finney-Smith is crucial? Was crucial to the Mavericks? Is he going to be? Too. Is he going to be crucial for the Nets? I don't know.
Maybe he's super Al-Farouq Aminu. You know, it's
I just feel like you're slandering Dorian Finney-Smith nonstop. I mean maybe actually, that's my fault. Super Al-Farouq Aminu would be incredible. Okay. Yeah, you're right there.
And Brooklyn has it now. Congratulations. You were the one team that could get through to, I mean, I don't know, maybe stop wearing Nikes or something like that. But yeah, I thought he was untouchable.
You saying Super Al-Farouq Aminu reminds me of a time someone criticized Zion as saying he's just going to be a Zach Randolph with vertical leap. And I was like, that sounds like the best player in the NBA. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So how important do you think, so this Kyrie Irving trade, which was huge. I mean, the thing over the weekend was, all right, Kyrie wants to get traded, which was like, what type of, I don't know. It was a bit, I guess it was shocking, not totally shocking, but like he'd already done this. And then we felt like, all right, maybe they've settled down. They've been pretty good. The Nets are having a good season overall as a team. If you just look at the one-loss record, Kevin Durant's playing as good as ever when he's healthy, but now they don't agree on an extension and he wants to get traded. He makes this demand and we all have, again, we hoot and holler, but now the Mavericks and Mark Cuban step up to the plate. What are your thoughts on this massive deal?
I mean, the hooting and hollering, it put us in a tilt cycle, a little spin circle.
Yeah.
There for a bit, but like we forget that we don't live, these players live in an entirely different world. They don't care that the Nets have won 7 of 12, and they don't care that like the whatever is why they're worried about a contract and their legacy and a contract and they're worried about their personal lives. Big, large shocker to us that are worried about like the Pistons are really coming on. You're gonna have to watch them in the second half of it. and that's Kyrie Irving and the rest of these players are living in the trade deadline zone. And we were all kind of surprised that the trade deadline was on Thursday and that Kyrie's like, this might be the most pivotal week of his entire life. And rap. He wants in. He needs to do something about it. Well, actually, so once I got past that, I was okay with it.
Speaking of trade deadline week, we have huge Fastbreak Breakfast breaking news. I wish Chuck could weigh in right now. The Miami Heat have traded Dwayne Dedmon for nothing. This is a salary dump. They're they're trying to cut their payroll. They sent Dwayne Dedmon and the second-round pick to the San Antonio Spurs. Huge power shifting move in the NBA.
It's a Brian Windhorst thing, what are they dumping for? I was personally surprised to see that Dedmon was back on the roster when I saw a photo of him the other day.
He is walking. Like, oh yeah, he's been walking matching salary for a while now. He notably got in a fight with a foot massager, brandished it as a weapon earlier this year. And so now the Heat are in cut costs mode. And looks like the Spurs using some of their salary cap to acquire a single second-round pick. But you say like the players, they're in NBA trade deadline mode. Like Spencer Dinwiddie took this seemingly well, where basically once the trade breaks, he's like, well, when Shams says it's time to go, you pack up. And he's also like,
he said it.
What?
twice, because we had the little Toronto Raptors interruption, and then when it officially went through, he's like, well, he did it a second time. He did it the first time, and then I think he did it yesterday afternoon too.
Yeah. So he says he's happy to be going back home. What does this mean for the Nets specifically on their current roster? I think this keeps them extremely competitive. I feel like the pieces of Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith are highly useful and good pieces to put around Kevin Durant. Does this make them better, worse, or unchanged in your opinion?
It makes them capable. It's a very Jacques Vaughn, approach to life. DFS and Spencer Dinwiddie, just two go-getters. The pick. I know he didn't ask about it. Is
well, the
crazy,
pick is
though.
for me. That's icing on the cake.
Tremendous. Yeah. But yeah, they get to
icing
compete
on the cheesecake. Sorry.
Let's turn Kyrie into a video game player and forget all the other stuff. Kyrie gets injured. He hurts his wrist. He hurts his shin. He hurts his foot. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's pretty outside of the big injuries. He's in there. So yeah, it makes them a sensible team that can take some of the use, which is weird to say when you're losing Kyrie Irving's 27 points a game, but it's going to take some of the usage problems off of KD, who had a redonkulous, usage minutes, crazed shots first half of the season. So if we can get into a more orthodox style of basketball, that's lends themselves in my head to approach a 4 out of 7 situation better than just hoping Kyrie's going to be around. If he tears a hamstring in the middle of May, Kyrie's always like that, regardless of the off-court stuff. So yay, normal basketball team. Now go get a center.
Right. I mean, I think even their mixture of guards they have, Spencer Dinwiddie plus Seth Curry plus whenever Patty Mills can play, that's a fine approximation of just getting you some shooting, some, like, obviously you're losing the spectacular all NBA level creation. You're missing the, out of nothing shot creation. But when you have KD, and then you also can get what I think is you called it a super Alfred Camino style guy, a capable wing defender who can shoot, who you can play in the playoffs. And now you have like this collection of guys where you have Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith. And then you can play, I think, a more traditional front court because Claxton's awesome. Kevin Durant, we know, is incredible. And like just having those extra pieces where now you're like, does Ben Simmons play? Is Ben Simmons is he in the rotation? Is Joe Harris in the rotation? What do we do with Cam Thomas, who's the best player since Michael Jordan or LeBron James? By the way, Cam Thomas, the second youngest player to have consecutive 40-point games. LeBron James being the youngest. This is his last 2 games. So I don't know, like in your mind, if you were given, if you're just playing the video game, even, who are you starting now for the Nets, and what's your rotation look like?
I'm terrible at video games, so I'm throwing it to Ben Simmons. I'm like, I can change him. I will figure him out. I will put up with the turnovers and his 52 shooting. I don't know how video games work these days, but I find it hard to give up on Ben Simmons even now. Yeah, I love the lineup. I don't trust Joe. It's okay for Joe Harris to have a completely lost year because it's a while to come back from whatever the heck they did to drilling screws into his bones or whatever. It's okay for him to have a year, and it's okay for Patty Mills to be off and on, but Patty Mills knows how to get ready for a 3:00 in the afternoon ABC playoff game in the second round. And Dinwiddie's going to be on it. And the thing with Claxton is I'm so happy it happened because it made all this possible. We're not doing any of this if he's still whiffing on plays like he was his last couple of years. Like the fact that he turned into this, like, not, let's say, part of Jared Allen, that he turned into this guy that can cover the waterfront, and like he's always been good at closing on threes and stuff like that. But for him to be this guy you can rely on, who cares if he can't hit a jump shot? I don't care who they throw at. It's going to be Jacques Vaughn, and it's going to be orthodox and awfully what's the guy's name? Larry Drewish. It's going to be Bob Hillish. It's going to be like that, and that's fine. Get rid of the weird. is what they have a couple of weeks or a couple of days to do. I would really try to get rid of Ben Simmons and make him someone else's problem. It's if you
They're
don't
not
have the
going to be able to get rid of Ben
organizational
Simmons.
capability, if there's a 4-way deal, if you can sneak that salary into somewhere that can help someone, and there's a team that just doesn't care or wants to take a flyer, but they obviously do not have, the circus is not big enough for them to be the team that takes on and switches Ben Simmons. It gets him to play however we all want him to play, I suppose. So I would, if that's there, even if it's a loss, even if you have to lose one of those picks, if you can come up with just a sensible ball player, a stretch something. I hate saying this. I want to be this guy that says 40 minutes on them until he figures it out and learns how to play. I want to be that person still, but it's Durant. You have to do everything now. There's going to be a championship season still, because you have a guy that can play 42 minutes a game of the best basketball anyone's seen. So I hope they're not done.
What would the Hornets? This is just coming to me. If we're in the dump Ben Simmons camp, if we're in the, we got to get something like, what would the Hornets ask if you're saying we will take back Mason Plumlee and Gordon Hayward, and you now take over the project that is Ben Simmons, the non-shooting, slightly broken human being, perhaps a guy struggling on the basketball. He's not an abject disaster on the court. He's just not good. He's a guy. He's just this weird kind of, it's like a weird issue to figure out, how do we make this useful, the things he does. And then on the specific Nets roster, where now, like, if I'm starting the team, or if I'm starting, I think I'm going traditional with KD at the 4, like KD, Claxton 4-5, probably Finney Smith at the 3, Dinwiddie at the 1. And then I'm deciding, do I play like Royce O'Neal at the 2? Do I start Seth Curry? Something like that, and I have trouble envisioning a starting lineup with Ben Simmons, even though they've been doing that a lot. I would be intrigued. Like, if Gordon Hayward can play basketball at all, that's just, to reuse the idiom, more icing on the cake. I'm basically dumping Ben Simmons' salary and saying Mason Plumlee is a fine backup center.
Yeah, I mean, but Hayward, for make fun of him for, he can't stay on the court, but he's a little Durant when it comes to production and filling up the box score and being able to just house people at the top of that, with the nail there. That'd be a beautiful thing. And if I'm, I'd stay on the Ben Simmons thing. If I'm a team, I would still take a chance on him if I'm going nowhere, and just let him sign him to a giant contract and just let him be on your team until.
Well, that's already done, Kelly.
Else. Yeah, but I mean, like, I just keep him around.
Yeah.
I want to be, I would want to be the team that gets the 1.5 years of the Ben Simmons that we're all going to write columns about.
So Ben Simmons making you're going to make $80 million over the next 2 seasons, the 24 and 25 seasons. So that's
keep it going.
That's a lot. Just spread it out.
It's going to be, we have Amazon drones who are going to be feeding basketball content to us in the new TV deal. So
also, the Hornets amnestied the Batum deal. Just, they're used to it. They could just eat the whole Ben Simmons deal. Wonder how many picks that's worth for them to try that. Assuming, I think it's highly unlikely that Ben Simmons gets moved. So assuming Simmons stays, would you try to pitch him on 6-man big guy? Back up 5, or just I don't know if you have to pitch him. Just tell him, like, hey, this is what we're doing now, buddy.
I think you can still, fake start him and just eat those minutes at the beginning of the first and third quarter where you're negative $1 million. I don't want to lose him completely, even though if it's going to totally trash my basketball team. I mean, Larry Brown won a championship by going to Ben Wallace in the first possession of every game just to make his big man happy, even if he's going to airball a jump hook from 4 feet. It's just, I would still go with that.
I love
because
that.
He made the commitment.
I'm going with that correlation. It was nothing else about that team. It was giving Ben Wallace that first touch of the game. Got a title.
Both are the same.
Yeah.
Bill Cartwright.
I remember as a kid, I don't know if this was accurate. I mean, Rick Smits was a greater player. But I specifically remember watching Pacers and Bulls games, and like the first possession of the game, like Bill Cartwright would always make like a 15-footer in my mind. And I'm like, why don't they do this more? And then I remember Rick Smits. It felt like every first 2 possessions, and this is clearly anecdotal 30-year-old memories of a child. But like, I remember like It felt like they posted up Rick Smits the first play every game and the second play, and he scored every time. And I'm just like, why doesn't this guy average 40? Why isn't it every single play? Like, was it, I mean, is there a thing where the other team concedes like, hey, first possession of the game in the 90s, you're allowed just to shoot a jump shot. I'm not going to guard you.
Yeah, possibly. And with Rick Smith's case, his feet run fire. Like,
Yeah,
his
I know.
feet
I know all about
catch
that.
it.
I have Rick
Yeah,
Smith's feet, I think, turns out.
yeah. Sorry. Well,
I have a new Kelly. This is for the weekly listeners. I have a new prescription cream for my psycho foot pain. I think it's working.
Really?
But, I don't know.
That's
The foot pain.
That's a strong cream.
The foot pain has gone away. The shooting, I don't know what causes it. Foot pain has gone away. I have this cream that smells like WD-40. It is the strongest smelling stuff, I guess. And they're like, wash your hands after you use it. I'm like, oh.
No,
I don't know if
tremendous.
Yeah, I smell
I
like a working man, not a piano player podcaster. I smell like I've been fixing airplanes.
I just straighten out a wow. That's well, good, because creams are usually not so much.
Yeah, dubious. This is just, there's nothing in this, right? You give me,
but like in the NBA back then, you could go to that one-on-one shot, and everyone was like, "Well, we have to leave him alone and let him perform on the low post because it's the '90s. There's no zone. You can't." So yeah, and then Rick. I mean, Rick never averaged more than 30 minutes a game, and he still made the All-Star team once. And he was like 32.
I think the horses left the barn for this idea. But why don't they should just let Ben Simmons be like, hey, would you shoot a 3-pointer on the first possession of every game? Just do it. It'll be fun. It'll be awesome. It's fun shooting 3-pointers. Everyone likes it, but you.
It's like the crowd that stands up novelty or something like that.
Like, all right, yeah. We'll stand until we make a bucket. Like if Dwight, why can't a team back in the day, like Dwight Howard, you're allowed to shoot a 3-pointer first possession of every single game? Like what? It's not going to hurt you anything. I mean, who really cares? I think the Nets did incredibly well getting, again, useful rotation pieces and that first round pick for a guy who was likely gone. Like, I think it keeps them in Eastern Conference contender status. You build around Kevin Durant. Great work. What do you make of the reports? I love this. This is delightful and delicious to me. What do you make of the reports that Joe Tsai's main objective in this trade was not to send him to the Lakers?
Oh, it scans, doesn't it? It just makes complete sense. That's what owners do.
Yeah.
You can get singularly petty because there's only 30 of you. I mean, shout out to my good buddy Dan Gilbert. It's just like you can't.
Well, let's talk about that. So Dan Gilbert abstained for the sale, approving the sale of the Phoenix Suns to apparently a real estate rival. I don't know the guy's name, Matt Ishiba or something to that effect. Whoever the new guy who bought the Suns, the sale was approved 29-0 with Dan Gilbert abstaining. They're both in the real estate biz.
Just unreal levels of petty. Just, staying up to 4 a.m. and writing emails to people to try to get a blogger fired levels of petty. Perhaps I've said too much.
Perhaps you've said too much. Don't get Dan Gilbert to come after me, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Guilt by association. I don't need it right now, Kelly.
It's petty and it's good and I love it. It's like these are things that owners do. Usually they'll get you in trouble. It's like, okay, you don't want to send him to the Cowboys, but you should really trade him to the Cowboys because whatever. That's sometimes that bites you, but he got away with it. So for the Cowboy.
I love this coming out, the pettiness and the fact that Joe Tsai just wanted to make Kyrie less happy. By the way, Matt Ishbia is the guy's actual, I should say his actual name probably. As a renowned and respected news outlet, I need to get those names right. The Lakers offer, I don't think it was better though. I mean, a 27 and 29 pick, and then Russell. What are you gonna do with Russell Westbrook? I mean, that's you don't need a Russell Westbrook. So I don't think the Lakers pick was that much better. There are some talks that the Lakers wouldn't include Max Christie or Austin Reeves in the deal. What is your reaction to that?
I laughed.
Max Christie is the straw that breaks the camel's back. No, we can't go that far.
I mean, they lost out on Doug Christie once. I get it. They want to make sure if they have the next Doug Christie, they keep him, and that's how I see Max Christie and Reeves. Whatever. It's a plant, but it's a good one. That's probably the truth, and I dig it. They it's a good way to pump up your recent drafting
I mean, they're just
scouting.
going to let Austin Reeves walk in free agency like Alex Caruso. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why he's untouchable in a Kyrie Irving offer.
We can't touch their plans. They're geniuses, and they're gonna show us what it's all about this summer when they do what they do with the expiring Russell Westbrook contract, and or maybe do something this week. I don't know, but until then,
what are your thoughts about this trade? It is feels like a gamble. It's a huge move for the Dallas Mavericks, who of course let Jalen Brunson walk. They had the option of getting him on a steal of a deal earlier last season, over that 4-year, $55 million extension, which they didn't offer initially. Now Jalen Brunson is like maybe an all-star snub. More on that in a second. But Jalen Brunson killing it on the Knicks. They didn't make the move. Now they make the move where they trade Dinwiddie. They trade a first-round pick. They trade Dorian Finney-Smith, who by all reports is maybe Luka's favorite teammate. A guy who seems beloved. Every Mavericks blogger and podcaster is like weeping over losing Dorian Finney-Smith. And it feels like a pretty big gamble for, like you spelled out, Kyrie, who, if you even ignore the noise, the off the court stuff, if you ignore that, his on the court ends of seasons hasn't been that awesome for a long time. Maybe not since the Game 7 game winner. What do you make of this deal from the Mavericks perspective?
I love it because it's silly, and I love these big silly deals.
Yeah,
and they're fun. It's the Josh Green thing gets me. We're gonna have Josh Green ascend, and he's gonna do a bunch of stuff that he's never really done before consistently. But then he's shown he can be a great player, but can he be a role player? It's a whole different trip getting up for that and doing that. I don't know what their lineup's going to look like. But I love it. It's the same scenario that we hoped for with LeBron. He's gonna take the pressure off Luka, and they're gonna hopefully take the pressure off each other. And it's not like Kyrie hasn't had help in all these seasons that he's hurt himself, in the playoffs. And it wasn't James Harden and Durant's fault that he was tearing things up. But might be different in Dallas. For us, it might be different. I like it. I think they're going to win seriously. I think they're going to win plenty of games. I hope they don't. I mean, I thought Luke was going to be out for longer. It turns out he might be back this weekend or something. So
I think he's intending to play on Wednesday, actually.
I misread that then. Time is a little sketch to me right now.
It's fine. You've driven coast to coast
all over the place. It's that seems a bit much, but otherwise, yeah, I dig it. There's going to be no defense, and they're going to put the onus on this, who they represent as this generational coach that they can build around no matter what. And he's there as long as he wants to be. And Jason Kidd has now got to put up and shut up with it. It's easy to coach a defensive team full of go-getters. It's easy to do that. Now he's got to coach for real. He's got to get the fancy pants, first class NBA MVP types to fall in line. And he can't be a martyr. He can't be a back in the day sort of guy. He has to be on the game. And I'm looking forward to it, because we could get two guys scoring 50 in a playoff game this May and still get swept. And I'm game. I'm absolutely game.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a huge Spencer Dinwiddie fan, although I think he's been tremendous this season. Getting Kyrie the on the court product seemingly takes a lot off of Luka's plate. You could convince me that if you had a strong argument, or if you presented me some weird like data set that's like, hey, these stats say Dorian Finney-Smith, we don't need him. We can get 98% of the production from, if it is Josh Green or more Reggie Bullock or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, you've convinced me. Like, I'm not so staunchly a fan of Dorian Finney-Smith that I wouldn't be surprised. It does make them a little bit more terrifying as a Grizzlies fan, that they have these two apex NBA players, guys who can just score on anybody. And if you do just fill it in, if it is more opportunity for Josh Green, and like Jaden Hardy, by the way, went off. They won. The Mavericks won against the Jazz on Monday night without Kyrie or without Luka. Like they have bodies in the front court. Obviously, I mean, we don't know what's happening with Christian Wood. He might still be on the move. I mean, would they be? I think about them, like, would they get involved in like a Pirtle deal? I don't know if they would have the sweeteners for the Spurs, like to get maybe a more defensive center. But even if they don't, like, I mean, Dwight Powell can play. Okay. They have some guys, and like, yeah, maybe Jason Kidd will get all inspired. And this team could be even more dynamic and scary. Of course, the risk. It's a rental. It's legit a rental. There's no agreed to contract extension. They said they're not going to do one during the regular season. So when this is all over, it's unrestricted free agent Kyrie.
Yeah, it's frightening. Plus the 29 pick. You can take the Pat Riley approach and just go, we are aware of the holes that we've dug ourselves, and we know our way out of them, and we can prepare. We freaked out over the Goran Dragic picks that Miami gave up for him ages ago, and they never really turned into much, even though we thought Miami was going to be dead by the whatever year they popped up. But yeah, the Laker thing, that's off. It's different when they have a place to go. Like Kyrie still has a weird place that wants him and has, the ability to move some things around and figure it out. And I don't think he's going to take, he's on record as not wanting less than the maximum, but when it gets to be summertime and it's Lakers versus a Dallas team that went out in the first round, and you can sign your trade in a way of some sort of compromise between max and whatever, this likely the same contract the Nets probably offered. Yeah, it's summertime gets to people, especially when it's California. It's just so it's scary. Why? But I want to see, but it's the hubris of it all is what I dig. He thinks that he's like, we're the Knicks, we're the Lakers, we're the Celtics. I can figure you out off the court. I can help you out with a million things. We can do something with this money of yours in a good way. Look what I'm doing with all these, the pharmaceutical stuff, Mr. Cube. We got the whole Nike. It's like, seriously, there's like a million things. These guys, these alpha weird CEO types think they can fix everyone, and they just need like one PowerPoint with them. And I'm ready to watch that happen. I'm also ready to see what they say about each other in between games. It's a tremendous setup. And I much prefer it to Los Angeles in a lot of ways, because I still feel like we're going to get the Los Angeles hookup. And your point about approximating DFS is spot on. I mean, it's not like he's this weird sort of left-handed Thaddeus Young that's doing all these. No, he's the 3-and-D guy that we know what he's all about, and we can come up with things that if Kelly Oubre can approximate that.
He's not so irreplaceable that it's like, how are we going to find another guy who scores 12 points per 38 minutes played? Like, you're going to find the buckets. I think it's able to find players who can complement Luka. The idea of getting someone as dynamic as Kyrie, it makes sense. And I guess I can see why everyone is constantly every couple years like enamored with like, oh my gosh, we can get Kyrie. Let's do it. By the way, 538 thinks the Mavericks are the favorites to come out of the West now after this trade, which is a pretty big boost. So good job there, Mark Cuban. Anyways, all of that Kyrie Irving discussion came out of my apology for making fun of the idea of Dorian Finney-Smith being traded for a star. Before we get to some discussion about the Rising Stars rosters and the All-Star reserves, a word from our sponsors, the Memphis Grizzlies. All Grizz all the time. Stay connected and follow the Grizzlies at MemGrizz and also at Grind City Media across all social channels. Stay up to date, get breaking news and perspectives you won't find anywhere else. Also, for you in the Memphis area, don't miss Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Journey as they're coming to the FedEx Forum with special guest Toto on Saturday, April 1st. Get your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com or the FedEx Forum box office. All right, it's
Did
now
you ever
time.
see a concert in the pyramid? Like a concert?
Have I ever seen a concert in the pyramid?
Yeah.
No, I have
Ever
not.
get
Have
out there
you?
for one of those? No. I always wondered about the acoustics with that place.
I saw Tool at the maybe it's called the Mid-South Coliseum.
Mid South got that place has
I
some
saw
history.
Tool in the Melvins. I believe it's the Mid-South
Wow.
Coliseum.
Wow, that's some sludgy fun.
I didn't know the Melvins. I was there for Tool. As I was in the demographic that was for Tool, which was nerdy little kids in college. It hit me right where I needed it. But no, I've never seen.
Good.
I've been to the Pyramid to seen multiple basketball games. I've been to the Pyramid now as it's a Bass Pro Shop. It's one of the great wonders of the Mid-South. Everyone should go there. I'm not joking or being facetious.
I want to, and I'm not being facetious.
You got to drive there, Kelly. It's not that far away. That's
tremendous. I want to.
You tell me when you're going to the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid, and I will meet you there. But let's do a couple topics here. As we move on. This is a throwback to an old segment, grab bag of things. I want to talk about, this came on the last week, and I feel like so much other NBA news has blown past it. I want to talk about the Rising Stars rosters. I might even get into the game format because frankly, I haven't read it and I don't understand it. And I assume I don't need to know. But they included some G League players. And I also want to talk about that and the All-Star reserves. Let's go with the Rising Stars. I think the NBA did a fine job of picking these. There's been years in the past, especially when it was USA against the world, where there was a USA squad and a world squad, where I was like, these squads are outrageous. Why are we forcing this format on people? It makes no sense. There aren't enough quality candidates to fill these positions. Now that it's first and second year players, I don't have much beef. The 11 rookies they chose are all the 11 players who are top in minutes played. Like literally Paolo Banchero, Jalen Duren, AJ Griffin, Jaden Ivey, Walker Kessler, Benny Mathurin, Keegan Murray, Andrew Nembhard, Jabari Smith, Jeremy Sochan, and Jalen Williams, the good one. Those are the top 11. Were there any issues you had at all? Any rookie snubs? Which of the assistant coaches messed up? Actually, I don't even know who names the Rising Stars squads anymore.
Yeah,
I have no idea who's in charge of that.
The video.
It was the assistant coaches back in the day, but I don't know if it still is.
Eason, like, do you want to watch a defensive stopper with good metrics and good length? No, I want to watch Kenny Lofton Jr.
No, that is greatly diminishing the entertainment value of Tari Eason, who literally in the past 7 days maybe posted the best 20-second clip of any basketball player ever. And he also had the weirdest. He had did he have 13 rebounds? And one of them was the defensive. He had some stat line that was spectacular. He missed 5 layups and got all the rebounds, got a steal and a block, and like a 20-second span for the Rockets. They're the only good thing on that team. He's the only good thing on that team. I think Tari Eason would put up a quadruple, if not a quintuple double, if allowed to play in a Rising Stars game.
He definitely would. He would be the MVP. But no, we need
the clear MVP.
Sensible.
We need Nembhard.
Which I'm fine with. He's a guard. I'm so ready for this game. It's great. The G League thing excites me so much. I think it's tremendous. I hope no one gets hurt. And it's I'm so chuffed that
I think
rosters. They left the best player in the world off, and I would assume, but beyond that.
So maybe I think DeSumo, if we want to talk about the sophomore squad, is a bit of a snub. I think Tari Eason has a strong argument to be maybe over someone like, all right, I would probably throw Nembhard out and put Nembhard has a game-winning 3-pointer over the Lakers. Maybe they just wanted to show that clip a lot during the game. But Tari Eason could be there. I also feel like maybe Shaedon Sharpe. He's top 10 pick. I feel like you got to incorporate that in your decision-making process somewhat.
He'll be there.
David Roddy, not so much, but he was up there in minutes playing on a team that's actually okay, or used to be okay in the Grizzlies. I think you're right. I would assume a little bit of a snub for the sophomores. Some of the sophomores who are named, indisputable. All right. Franz Wagner, Scotty Barnes, Josh Giddey, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Alperen Şengün. I see no way to be upset that those 6 guys were included. The next 4, Jose Alvarado, okay. Quentin Grimes, okay. Bones Highland, okay. Trey Murphy, okay. Are those guys more deserving than your Ayo Dosunmus or your Herb Joneses of the world?
Yes, yes.
Okay, they are.
It's slam dunk city. It just is. Herb Jones is well, he's not going to make up for it by making an all-star team, but we love him. He's got the love. Now we need something on Friday night with a lot of dunks and people that can dread that. That's taken away from Herb Jones's all-around game that we've all witnessed this year. Is him and Trey Murphy they're just the yin and yang together. It's beautiful to watch. But no, I cannot get too upset when I'm seeing how much fun they're having with all the other stuff, with all the Loftons and such.
What about
I'm not upset that Kuminga's not in there.
Yeah, no Kuminga. What about Austin Reeves, untouchable in a Kyrie Irving trade?
Yeah, I know, but he's
oversight.
Enough with these glue guys. The glue guys are for the rookie teams.
Santi Aldama. Santi Aldama feels borderline snubbish.
Yeah, you need someone to bring rain, don't you, from the corner?
I mean, Santi Aldama over Bones Highland. The Nuggets won't even play Bones Highland.
Yeah, they don't like Bones Highland. And gosh, I hope he doesn't become a Bull soon. Yeah, it's
what is the theorized Bones Highland to the Bulls deal you're worried about?
Oh, I'm worried. I'm sure it's all nonsense, but anything involving Alex Caruso, I'm scared silly about. I just
Can you play Bones Highland and Kobe White at the same time?
I would hope not. Kobe is pure, and Bones Highland is he's a scary skeleton guy. He's Halloween.
If Bones Highland's name was Sam Hauser, would anyone be trading for him?
If Bones Highland's name was Sam Hauser, his nickname would still be Bones Highland.
If you think if Bones Highland have made the Rising Stars game if his name wasn't Bones Highland? I think Bones Highland is getting a lot of mileage out of his really cool name.
Yeah, but it's earned because the name is cool. It's just like if you're Engelbert Humperdinck, you run with it, even though that's not really his name. But like I'm okay with it. I'm not going to be the team. Yeah, I'm not going to be the team that takes another chance on him just because of his name. But I'd want some team to do that. Because I like anyone who upsets Michael Malone, to be honest with you. He's a tremendous coach, and the Grizzlies or the Nuggets are great this year. But anyone who upsets an Irishman, I'm in favor of. I see words. I see right into that. I know that feeling.
Little aside, who's the player you're most excited about getting traded by Thursday? Here are your options. It's a multiple choice, not essay response. Multiple choice. Bones Highland, Jay Crowder, Furkan Korkmaz, or Jared Vanderbilt.
It's Furkan. Because like Vanderbilt might be the best of them, but like he's going to have a second quarter in a playoff game, and he's going to score 12 points, and Hubie Brown's going to be screaming his name. So that's going to happen. He'll be out of the rotation by the end of whatever playoff series the team. He'll be out of it by game 5, but game 3 at home. Yeah, so I'm going to go with him. Proven playoff performer.
That's a good response. By the way, this Thursday is a bit of an announcement. We'll be having a live stream over in our playback room, playback.tv/Fastbreak Breakfast at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is when the deadline actually is. So I'll be there. Kelly, I believe you might be there. John's going to be there. Joey and Sean from Round Ball Rock will be there. I might get some other guests as well. So all listeners and everybody come hang out at playback.tv/Fastbreak Breakfast this Thursday for the trade deadline at 3 p.m. Eastern. The All-Star reserves were announced. I will be frankly honest. I talked about this on Grits and Grinds. I was stunned that my guy, Jaren Jackson Jr., made the All-Star game, but also delighted and very, very excited. I think the coaches definitely weighed a little team success. They did a good job of weighing defense, I feel like, for the Jaren Jackson Jr. selection. The only Hall of Famers have ever averaged in a season over 16 points and 3 blocks per game. So I'm just throwing that out there. Jaren's having a great year, but he obviously hasn't played that much. Anthony Davis was not selected. You assume the coaches voted before the Grizzlies went into a tailspin. Also, no Suns made it. This Phoenix Suns, not people who have fathers. No Suns made it. What were your thoughts? Let's start with the Western Conference. The Western Conference, what were your thoughts on the All-Star reserves, who were, by the way, John Morant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George, Larry Markkinen, Domantas Sabonis, Damian Lillard, and Jaren Jackson Jr.
It all starts with Zion. It's all one push down from that. The fans wanted to see Zion, so
Sure.
now we're dealing with the butterfly wings. And I mean, Fox bugs me. I don't know who I take off. I don't.
You can say
there's
Jaren.
No, because these coaches know what it's like. Ask NBA coaches. Who would you rather game plan for? De'Aaron Fox dropping dimes, scoring 39 a game, and playing the best basketball of his career, or Jaren Jackson Jr. when his toe hurts? They'll be like, oh no, I'd rather take on Fox, because they know what Jackson does to your offense. They know what angles he's covering and how tough he makes it on everyone to just get into their sets and run their things, and how he just throws people off going, no. So if it's biased, fine, and it's not fun for an all-star game, but yeah, I don't know who I take off, because Jackson is pivotal. There's a reason they have the second best defense and the second best record in the West. And I don't care what percentage of minutes on the team he's played this year. He is just an absolute knockout.
He is definitely not built for an all-star game. His offensive array is the Grizzlies usually, but I mean, before John Morant, our thing was putting all-stars in the all-star game who have no business playing the brand of highlight one-on-one basketball. Like, what's Marc Gasol supposed to do in an all-star game? What's Zach Randolph supposed to do in an all-star game? So you think De'Aaron Fox is the most the most should be the most aggrieved for snubs? I lean more. I mean, I thought Anthony Davis. I think I understand the Lakers are not that good, but no one's that far ahead of anybody else in the West. And Anthony Davis is incredible, and he played well when he played this year. I also think Anthony Edwards has been so magical. His game is made for the All-Star game. I weigh that somewhat, the wow factor, the spectacular factor, the entertainment factor. So like, I definitely think Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, and De'Aaron Fox are all guys who could definitely certainly feel aggrieved. Apologies to like Aaron Gordon or Jamal Murray for the Nuggets, who are, well ahead in the 1 seed. You're shaking your head. That doesn't do it for you.
I'm never in favor of that. Like, I get it. Like, I wanted Dennis Rodman to be on the All-Star team with the Bulls too. They're on their way to 72 wins. Why don't they get 3? Like, I didn't get I understand why Aaron Gordon has had an All-Star caliber year, but you have to give one spot every year to the Penny Hardaways and the Vince Carters and the people that may not deserve it because they've been injured or whatever. That's
the guys who sell tickets too.
Yeah.
I mean, like regular season tickets.
Holy cow.
We don't care about the All-Star tickets that no one can afford. Just talking about, I feel like the All-Star game should somewhat recognize the players who are the marquee stars that actually get people to come out to the local venues and watch the teams play.
Yeah, big Duke guy that was on national TV a million times and broke a shoe and was a number 1 pick, and now people know him for 360 windmill dunks. It's okay. So there's a million deserving all-stars. They should just feel happy that they don't have a member of the G League Ignite in there taking one of their spots.
Soon, Kelly, soon.
Because Justin Anderson's had a really good year. So
yeah, so Steph Curry has a knee/ankle, his leg sprain. There's some argument among Twitter doctors what's the actual proper terminology for it, but Steph Curry's not looked like he's going to play in the All-Star game. Also, Zion, frankly, we don't know if he's going to play in the All-Star game. If Steph Curry's out, if the commissioner who names the replacement, if he goes off the weighted ballot that used for the starters, next up, if they pick a guard, would be De'Aaron Fox. You've already said you think he's the most deserving, so it sounds like that would be your pick. If they took it off of just any, regardless of position, they could take Anthony Davis. I also feel like Anthony Edwards played every single game. Mm-hmm. Leads the NBA in total steals. He's 5th in total points. He's got the Timberwolves playing well. I might still, for the sake of just entertainment value, I would continue snubbing Anthony Davis and Fox for for Anthony Edwards. But if 2 guys get in, maybe only one of those people will be sad
And entertainment, like, you have to sell your products too. Like, yeah, you want people tuning into a play-in game with Anthony Edwards because you fell in love with the All-Star Game MVP that he almost won.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we're not going to hype Anthony Davis more than he's already been. He was ruling Kentucky a decade ago, and Jim Rome and David Stern were fighting about him. It's totally understandable if we go flash on this and have all of us, now that we have this subset of media that recognizes screen assists and all these silly things. We can give our plaudits to Anthony Davis while still going, you're going to get hurt and we want dunks.
What about so now after the Kyrie trade, actually the West now has 13 All-Stars. The East has only 11. It feels like a very unique situation. Should the All-Star replacement be pulled out of the Eastern Conference? Should our Eastern Conference snubs, such as James Harden and or Jimmy Butler, we can make Kyrie the replacement for the West? Yeah, that's Steph's replacement. Now he's in the Western Conference, and we'll get one of these snubs in the East.
That's gonna be rough because I don't want to see James Harden or Jimmy Butler. Those are two of my favorite guys. But like yes, James Harden is. But the Graybeards don't need on there. I understand James.
You don't
Harden.
think so?
No, let them go party. Oh my gosh, okay. Those guys are the all-stars of partying. Okay, they are the all-stars.
You're saying James Harden does not want to go party in Salt Lake City?
Oh, well, I mean, listen, Salt Lake City jokes are a little tired. It's just traffic.
Geez, you're right.
That time of year is really tough. And when it's like an event that everyone goes to, there's going to be less people in some of these other cities. So,
gotcha.
It's nothing to do with Salt Lake City itself.
So the Eastern Conference All-Star reserves: Tyrese Halliburton, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, DeMar DeRozan, Drew Holiday, and Julius Randle. I was pretty surprised by, honestly, a couple of those names. What were your thoughts on that? And do you think anybody in the East is a legit snub?
The Drew Holiday thing surprised me, and then I got over it a second later because I was that guy guard everyone and take on this. Okay, it's time for, I'm coming off the bench in the second quarter, and I got to switch assignments. And he's been there through thick and thin, and I know what your Brook Lopez. Yeah, but Drew has been so good. So I and the Bam thing is once I saw the was it the players that voted for Bam a lot, then you can see what's what.
Yeah.
The players are like, this guy is too much to handle, and I would move heaven and earth to have him as a teammate. And it's so I kind of took that as a respect thing. I was also chuffed on a different subject. Giannis, I thought that was some good stuff. But yeah, I was surprised, but I can't kick Drew Holiday off that team. I'm not about to.
I was surprised by the Drew Holiday one, not because I don't love him. He's one of my favorite NBA players, because there's been previous seasons where Drew Holiday wasn't named an All-Star. I thought he was going to be an All-Star. And I kind of thought the coaches just don't vote for Drew Holiday that much, or they're spreading the credit among the Bucks. Previous seasons, it was like, all right, Giannis is obviously the best. And then there's like, all right, there's Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, and we can't put them all in the All-Star game. So maybe the vote is split. And because of that, other guys get in. So I wasn't bothered by Drew Holiday's inclusion. I just was a little bit surprised because he hadn't made it before. This is only his second All-Star appearance. I was legit surprised by Julius Randle making it over James Harden, over Jimmy Butler, and even over his teammate, Jalen Brunson. I feel like you mentioned the thing about Jaren Jackson Jr., like who's the hardest to game plan for? Do the coaches feel like when you play the Knicks, like our biggest problem, it's they're thinking, all right, it's Julius Randle.
Yeah, this guy is a butterbean to guard. He's really tough, and he's changed his shot profile, and he's having another tremendous year, and they're winning more games that they lose. So yeah, I feel that there's always going to be a 5'9" left-handed point guard bias. I'm not averse to pointing that out on national airwaves. It's always going to go to the bigs if it's left to the coaches. But like, what a big, like, that player is he's doing it right. He's doing it right. And I was on his side last year. It's a tough city to play in. And we all knew it was going to be a plexiglass thing. He wasn't going to make as many shots last year as he did the year before. And he handled it like probably better than most people would have handled it. So I think there is kind of also a response to that too, which, I'm not above. But yeah, like you said, I think they have to game plan for this guy who's just, he's so tough and he's left-handed.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're pretty satisfied with the East. I felt like it was a really tough. I mean, it's a tough assignment, but Like you don't have any issues. No Jimmy Butler, no James Harden, no Trae Young, no DeJounte Murray. Yeah.
The Young thing was a surprise, and then I kept going back and thinking like he'd be like maybe I'm just with the mean clique that is having a hard time with Trae Young this year, something like that. Because every time I tried to stick him on the team, I was like, well, I want 3 other guys before him. So I feel it's on me to try to reestablish some sort of spark with Trae Young in the last half of this season. But
also, even
I'm not upset.
I mean, even Darius Garland has been having a tremendous season, and he just has maybe less wow factor.
In Ohio,
get
that guy on the road. He's useless.
All right, so you're not upset about the All-Stars, which is great to know. I'm not upset either because my guy, Jaren Jackson Jr., made it, so everything else is gravy. Everyone else can suck it. Before we get to the award segment of the program, Kelly, we do have one important section, the listener questions, the croissant questionnaire. This week, Kelly, one single question. This is asked by Denver Drew. This is in regards, I'm setting the scene. This is in regards to a confrontation between Austin Rivers and Mo Bamba, where Austin Rivers ran into the Magic bench and got in a fight. Both players were suspended multiple games. Denver Drew wants to know, so who is the alpha dog of the city of Orlando? Of course, this is, again, setting the stage. Austin Rivers went to Instagram to explain that he is basically
the king of Orlando.
The king of Orlando.
None higher. I mean, it's got to be him, though, right? Like, name a more Orlando person in the history.
He is Orlando come to life.
He's
Orlando in human form.
Yeah, he's just super Orlando. And wow, I don't know. I looked up a whole list of golfers from Orlando, and I couldn't. Golfers, people who make their money playing golf.
Yeah,
and I could not find a more Orlando person than Austin Rivers, who he's been on 28 teams, I believe, at this point, but
something like that.
Not been a member of the Orlando Magic. Yeah, I don't know if he's Mr. Orlando Magic, but he's definitely Mr. Orlando.
What about Vince Carter? Would Vince Carter take umbrage? Does he feel like I believe he's from the Orlando area? I believe he maintains a home still in Orlando. Does Vince Carter offended? Do you feel like he should be Mr. Orlando?
I feel like that's Tracy's territory.
Tracy's territory? Okay. Yeah, all right. What about a little guy named Walt Disney? No.
Well, he's a little guy because it's just his head is left, correct?
he's just a head in the jar. What about Stanley Roberts?
Yeah, he's more Bayou to me.
That's fair.
Through and through. I just see that big. Plus, he had a lot of fun in Los Angeles. If anyone wants to get up on YouTube and look up anything having to do with the Stanley Roberts trade from Orlando to Los Angeles, he had a good time out there.
The internet tells me that Wesley Snipes is from Orlando.
Really? Well, tax haven.
He just never been a fan of paying his fair share of taxes. He's had some problems with that. All right. How about Joey Fatone? The internet also says
very Orlando.
That's very Orlando. Very Orlando.
Incredibly Orlando, because it's the musical theater stuff. You have the cruise stuff that got the year round. He's a very talented person. Wow, that's tough. But then again, Austin Rivers.
Here's the final one that I also associate with Orlando is Justin Timberlake. And that's only because NSYNC was from Orlando. Justin Timberlake is he's definitely aligned himself as being a Memphian. Born in Memphis, affiliated, involved with the Grizzlies, but still I have left over his persona seems Orlando-ish to me.
Does.
And then I still have the attachments going back from my college days. I remember seeing the flyers for the auditions for NSYNC. They were posting them all the way up in Tallahassee at Florida State. And so like I associate Timberlake with the city of Orlando, but it's still Austin Rivers.
Yeah, it's Austin Rivers because he's less of an expert. Orlando is, let's be honest, it's a destination city. It's where you go if you've got the Kids Incorporated gig. If you've got if Mark Summers says you're the one, this kid's a star. It's that sort of thing. So it brings in the talent from all across America. But Rivers is he's that homegrown feel. And for Timberlake, he's got a ton of Memphis in him, but I also always feel like wherever that Punked episode took place, that's where he's from. Just that house with the acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's where, I don't know where it was, California-ish, but that's where he lives forever, him and Jessica Biel, according to my head.
Yeah, perfect. Anyways, thanks for the question, Denver. Drew, if you guys out there want your question answered on air, you have to become a Patreon supporter. By the way, thanks to our new Patreon supporters, Joseph Crane, Charles Crabtree, and Jay. Appreciate you guys signing up. If you want to join our listener-only Slack, the only way to get into that is by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. All right, it's now time for the awards segment of the program, Kelly. This is very exciting. You've never been here for an International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award before. We have a lot of good nominees this week. Stretching back into last month, January 31st, I felt like a lot of guys were trying to get in. We had Drew Holiday going 6 for 20, Terry Rozier going 6 for 20, Angeles Randall going 6 for 19, all on January 31st. But I have bad news for those guys. February happened, and they were all erased from contention by the following performances. Here's just our honorable mentions. Paolo Banchero, Mr. Orlando himself, 3 for 16. Spencer Dinwiddie, newest net, 4 for 19. RJ Barrett, 6 for 21. Kawhi Leonard, 7 for 26. In this hotly contested week, we have 3 guys who made the cut for nominees, and here they are. We're going to pick the worst one. Russell Westbrook, in a 1-point victory over Andrew Nembhard and the Pacers. Russell Westbrook was 2 for 16 from the field. 10 points, 10 assists, 3 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. Tim Hardaway Jr. of the new look Dallas Mavericks, in a win against the Pelicans, was 3 for 18, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 personal foul. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, newest net, in the exact same game as Tim Hardaway Jr., was 4 for 19 for 21 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. By the way, shout out the Mavs getting a 7 for 37 combined performance from Spencer Dinwiddie and Tim Hardaway Jr. and still beating the Pelicans. So, Kelly, our 3 nominees are Russell Westbrook, 2 for 16, 10 points, 10 assists, 4 turnovers. Tim Hardaway Jr., 3 for 18, 9.6 rebounds, and Spencer Dinwiddie, 4 for 19, 21 points, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers. What are you feeling?
Oh, Hardaway.
Hardaway's is pretty good. I don't consider Dinwiddie. He got to the line, 21 points, a lot of points. For me, it's Hardaway's 3 for 18 or Russell Westbrook's 2 for 16. A lot of turnovers for Russ, but he got some assists. I'll agree. 2-man game. We can't have a split. Tim Hardaway Jr., congratulations on your International Stackhouse of Pancakes victory. Also, congratulations on being the son of perhaps the greatest iShop box scorer of all time, Tim Hardaway Sr.'s famous 0 for 17. The biggest 0 for game in NBA history. Like father, like son. Congratulations, Tim Hardaway Jr. Anyway, Kelly, we're going to finish the show with a segment we debuted last week called Kudos to Me. You don't have to have a kudos. I have a kudos. But kudos to me in honor of Dylan Brooks learning to pass the basketball. Kudos to me. I'm averaging a career high in assists. Kudos to me. I punched Donovan Mitchell in the groin, got suspended for a game. Kudos to me. Here's my kudos to me. Last week on the show, I was talking about the Washington Wizards, Kelly. They were on a heater. They'd won 6 straight. You might think this would be an opportunity for me to apologize. Like I could have used this as my breakfast in bed apology. I predicted last week that the Wizards would win 12 straight games. On that same episode, I pointed out how we had overpraised the Philadelphia 76ers, and thus the podcast curse had afflicted them, and they went out and blew a 20-point lead to the Orlando Magic. So in the same episode where I said I overpraised the Sixers and then they blew a 20-point lead, I then said that the Wizards would win 12 straight. People are like, well, you gotta apologize. No. This is a kudos to me. My podcast power has never been stronger. After predicting the Wizards would win 12 straight games, what happened their next game? Their game was canceled. That doesn't happen every day. So then their game was canceled, which you will never convince me would not have been their 7th straight victory against the Pistons. After that, they lose their next 2 games where they have a 20-point lead in each one of them. One of them is one of the Cam Thomas games. And then they get blown out by the Cavs. So since saying the Wizards would win 12 straight, no. They've had a game postponed. They've lost 3. 2 of them they had a 20-point lead in. Kudos to me. The podcast curse has never been stronger. What do you think the Wizards are going to do with the trade deadline, Kelly?
I hope it has something to do. They hope it has something to do with Corey Kispert. I'd guess based on 30,000 minutes a game.
You think they're pumping up the Kispert value? That's why he's playing so much.
That's probably it. I hope it is. I don't know. Maybe it was to delight Bob Weir during the Bill Walton-a-thon last night. I don't know. I did see some of that, and it was that Bob Weir has never seen an NBA game. That is absolutely clear. They asked him what his favorite NBA memory was, and he was like, it was the time the Celtics came to a Grateful Dead show, and they were holding beer bottles in both their hands and drinking 2 at a time instead of holding 2 cans.
Yeah.
And that they drank all the Grateful Dead's beer, which is, no small task, even in the 80s.
Yeah. That's very impressive.
So that's what I thought about the Wizards game last night.
Yeah. Final thought for if you want anything apart fadeaway, anything you're looking forward to. What are your any overarching thoughts on things we missed, or what you do hope goes down on
Isn't
Thursday?
it wonderful that this is just going to be done? We're just going to do it. Friday's going to get back to basketball, and then it can be silly again, and we're going to have to make up our own drama instead of having it be actual, like, this is where people have to live. Oh, I got to get a new team. Like, that's drama. In 2 weeks, it's going to be back to tortilla soup. So I'm so happy for that.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, thanks so much for joining the show. A little extended guest stint for you. Always a pleasure talking basketball with you. Everyone out there, go subscribe to Kelly's amazing newsletter, tsa.substack.com. The second arrangement. No one writes about basketball like Kelly. It is a delight to read. So everyone go make sure you subscribe to that. Anyways, if you want to support our show, do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't miss the playback on Thursday for the trade deadline. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.